Okay, welcome back to the Loose and Groovy Baseball Show. This week is going to kick off the second consecutive podcast where we will dive into each division and just talk about the free agent predictions and kind of the team needs, and then based off that, what free agents they should go after. This is going to be kind of a fun episode because we're doing AL Central this episode, so my Tigers and Travis's White Sox are going to be included. How we feeling, Trav?
Feeling good. Excited to be back. I know we talked a little bit before this, but it's all these divisions are going to be interesting, but I think this one especially is going to be even more interesting just because, both of our teams are in it. And we have a lot of, I don't want to say similar kind of situations, but a lot of interesting situations here for sure. And it's going to be cool to see what these teams do as we head into the offseason and get deeper into it. But definitely a lot of interesting positions for our teams in the Central. And yeah, I guess we can just get right into it if you're down.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll, again, go top to bottom in order. I'll go over the records one more time just so we all get a quick refresher. So in the 2024 standings, the Guardians finished first. They were 92-69. The Royals were second. They were 86-76. So were the Tigers. They technically finished third. They were also 86-76. The Twins finished 82-80. And then the White Sox were 41-121. So definitely love to see that.
Ouch.
So yeah, we'll kick it off with the Guardians right away, obviously, and I'll let you get us started actually here and kind of what you want to share. And I guess for those that listened to this episode last week when we went over the AL East, this is pretty much just going to be what me and Parker think these teams are going to do, players they might go out and sign, trades they might make, any questions they have entering the offseason, stuff like that. Kind of just our 2 cents on all of it. So I'll give it to you now.
Okay, so I honestly, with the Guardians, it's very confusing to me because I know in the past they've showed that they're super cheap and they don't want to spend very much money. However, their window is wide open right now. They have a top 3 youngest team in the MLB around, I believe, 26 years old, and they won the division and they made a nice run in the playoffs. So I think this is a year that I'm not going to say go all out because we all know they're not going to go all out and sign these huge free agents. However, I have a couple big names on here, bigger names. So first, looking at their projected lineup for next year, I saw a glaring weakness in the outfield, and this is Will Brennan, the lefty in right field. And one of the big problems with this, while he's not a good hitter, he's a good defender, not a good hitter, they have a very, very heavy lefty lineup. You got Quan, Manzardo, Naylor, and then you got Andres Jimenez and Bo Naylor. All these guys are lefties, and I feel like you need some type of bat that can bat right-handed to level this out. And I guess I took another step further, and I think they should go get the switch hitter. It's a big one, but Anthony Santander.
Okay.
And it's projected, looking at his spot rack, the market value, it's around 20, almost 20 a year. So I said 4 years, 76 mil for a 19 AAV. And like I said, they're extremely heavy lefty lineup. This will be a nice little balance in there. It's always great to have a switch hitter. And the Guardians finished 16th in the MLB last year in slugging percentage, so bottom half, with a .395 slugging percentage. And I know Anthony Santander, he's not a big average guy, but in terms of that slugging, of driving guys in once they get on base, he had a .506 slugging percentage last year. So he's going to bring the thump. He had 44 home runs, 102 RBIs, and I feel like that's kind of what they need. They always seem to manufacture runs, and while that's a great part of baseball, if sometimes those key hits don't happen, so if you have a big guy that can hit a 3-run home run in a game and have that be the difference, I feel like that's pretty important. So that's all I had on the offense side of things. Now, looking at starting pitching, they need starting pitching bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, their starting pitching for next year is just looking Tanner Bybee, which I like a lot. Ben Lively, he had a good season last year, so I'm not feeling terrible about him, although I don't like him as their number 2 as it's listed right now. Gavin Williams had a rough year last year, but I'm also kind of high on him. I think he's good. He had a good year a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then their last 2, McKenzie, I know he had a good season. Was it 22 or 23?
Oh, yeah. I was
22?
Because he was in AAA most of last year.
Yeah, so he did bad, and I think they should still give him a decent chance next year to crack the rotation or at least fight out of the bullpen and see if he can work his way up. But and then Joey Cantillo, who I'm not very confident with. So all that being said, I think they should go and lock down Shane Bieber. So he had an injury. He missed all last year, correct?
Tommy John, yeah.
All last year.
Oh,
I think it was like 3 starts.
No, yeah. He had like a few starts at the beginning.
And he didn't give up a run. He was dominant.
Yeah, and then they took him out.
Right.
He had like, the shoulder inflammation, whatever it was, or the arm.
Yeah, so 12 innings last year. Not much, obviously, but
Probably
he was
like 2
2-0
starts or something.
Yeah, 2 starts, .7 WAR in 2 starts. Like, he was
That's
insane.
crazy.
20 strikeouts. His whip was minuscule, it was under 1. And he's going to miss the first half of next year, so you have to take that into account. That's a pretty big factor.
Is it like 81 games first half, or is he missing like the beginning of it? Do you know?
I've been seeing first half, and I don't.
So probably somewhere between like April and June or something like that. He could be back. Okay.
Because I mean, I don't know. It seems like he should kind of be ready for next year. I guess
It seems really long to be out for
even
the
Tommy
full
John.
season and then bleeding into next season. But I guess didn't Felix Bautista do something similar where he missed I think most of the second half of 23 and then missed all of 24.
Sometimes the timing just hurts you. Like it can be pretty bad. And I kind of feel bad for him because on his contract year to have that injury after being that dominant is terrible.
Cy Young was 2020, right?
2020, yep, COVID year.
Yeah.
He had a 1.63 ERA, 8-1, and then 3.17 ERA in 2021, 2.88 in 2022.
Okay.
Last year was his down year, and even in his down year, he had a 3.8, so still a above average pitcher. So
yeah, for sure.
I said 3 years, $66 million. Although we were kind of talking about this before, as we usually do, and you were kind of talking about like maybe taking that 1 or 2 years contract to kind of just prove yourself. So I can kind of see that as more of a realistic possibility. Maybe like a 1 year, like 25 mil, or 2 years, like 40, 45, something like that. So I'd lock him down. He's been there. You know what he's going to be like. He's dominant when he's healthy. And then I also set a starting pitcher project since Cleveland developed starting pitchers so well. A guy like Mike Soroka.
I wrote him down too.
Who could come back. Yeah. I like Mike Soroka a lot as a comeback candidate. And then I also said Jose Urquidy for the Houston Astros. So I'll go through his stats real quick before I head over to your side. And then
I can pull up Soroka too. I'll talk a bit about him because he's on.
Okay, so I'll say that for you. But I'll say Urquidy, he had a... Here, hold up. Give me 1 sec. Okay. 2019, 3.95. That was his rookie year in 41 innings. 2020, 2.73 in the shortened season in about 30 innings. 3.62 ERA in 2021 in about 110 innings. And then 3.94 last year in 164, or a year before, I guess, 2022. But this year, big down year, 5.29. But I think he's a huge bounce back, especially with how well Cleveland can transform their pitching. So kick it over to you. I have nothing on their bullpen. Their bullpen's amazing. They don't need to even touch it.
Yeah, they just I don't know if you saw this. They just traded Eli Morgan away to the Cubs. He didn't pitch. I think he pitched like 30 innings last year, and they nabbed the Cubs like 20th prospect, I think it was. Who was it?
Eli Morgan. Okay.
Yeah, Alfonso Rosario from the Cubs. I think he was their 20th in the org. Eli had I think he had a sub-2 ERA, but I don't think he pitched that much. I remember they were talking about him in one of the postseason
I think it was very
games.
low leverage too.
Yes, that was the other thing. It was not one of the big four, I would say, but still. So when I looked at the Guardians, their payroll is actually very, very small. Very few guys. I think J-Ram is like one of the only guys actually on a contract here. All the other guys are ARB. And so let's see. What did I write down for the overview? So I said the Guardians are still young and will keep most of their core from last year, making them front runners for the AL Central again. I think we can both agree on that. And then I said the rotation is the biggest area of concern, kind of like what you were saying, and could be where the Guardians look in free agency. Question marks, I wrote down Shade Bieber and Matthew Boyd. These are two of their free agents. I went the route that they don't sign Shane Bieber back. I wouldn't disagree with them doing it, but there is a question mark there, and it is a little tricky, like you were saying, with the free agent part of, are you going to give him a big deal, or is he going to want a big deal, or does he want, maybe a smaller one to wait until to see if they still have something there? I'm sure they still do, but I'm sure it'll be a little bit before he gets back to form. And then Matthew Boyd's another guy who didn't pitch most of the year, but then he came in at late and did really well.
Yeah.
And I read a few reports about it's like, have you heard Austin Hedges? Like, I think David Fry said if that dude had 0 hits during the whole season, it'd still be valuable to sign him.
Yeah.
Because, like,
That's
just how much of a clubhouse guy he is. And not that Boyd was up to that level, but they were saying similar things about him. And then for trades, so I think there is a world the Guardians make some trades here. Josh Naylor is going into his final year of arbitration, so is Lane Thomas. I doubt they're going to re-sign Lane Thomas after this unless he has a really good breakout season, but I think those are 2 guys. If you find the right suitor and you get a good return back, you could trade them. I think that's realistic here, because I wouldn't be surprised if the Guardians don't want to pay either of these guys.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, I didn't really think they would, especially just after last season, that they're probably going to keep them most likely, but I think that is an option. So I did not have them going out and getting a big free agent at all, really. Like I was saying, I think the team that won 92 games is all still here. Nobody's gone, really. They were without Bieber the whole season, and everybody else is returning pretty much. And this team is really young. And I want to go back to what you were saying about their lefty lineup. That was something that I was looking into also, but their numbers are actually far, far better against lefties. So JRM's OPS against lefties this year was above a 1. He had a 1.080. David Fry he had 996. John Kinsey Noel 969. Stephen Kwan even had 839, and he bats lefty.
Wow.
And I'll go through some of the righty ones also. So, like, J-Ram's OPS falls to a 797 versus righties. Stephen Kwan's, there's not that much of a difference, but it falls to 774. And David Fry falls to a 676 against righties. So, it's actually kind of crazy. They like, kill lefties. And so I was like, okay, maybe they need a right-handed hitting guy here. And so the candidate I chose, because I know they can get him for cheap, is Paul DeYoung. He's kind of entering into the late stretch of his career, but he hits righties really well. So he had 24 home runs last year, surprisingly somehow. 19 of them came off of righties. He does hit righties better for sure. And I know they can get him for cheap. So if that can be some kind of platoon guy they can plug in, I don't really know where he'll fit in. There's not many holes on this roster. He does play short, which is kind of where Rocchio played, and he kind of had a breakout postseason last year. And I wouldn't feel comfortable like taking his DH even though, but then Kyle Manzardo kind of gets tricky, and so does John Kinsey Noel if he's not playing in the outfield. So it would be a little tough to squeeze him in, but I definitely think the bat is there. And like I said, I think they could get him for cheap. I do think you re-sign Matthew Boyd here as well. That's another guy I wrote down. On top of just the clubhouse thing, I think he is a good arm, and we saw that towards the end of last season. And I would like to see, we haven't seen a full season of Matthew Boyd since 2019 when he was in Detroit. He pitched 39 innings last year, 71 in 23, 13 in 22, 78 in 21. But in the 39 innings, like I was saying, he had a 2.70 ERA, and he was pretty good in the postseason. Didn't get a lot of run, but he did show up when he needed to, and I think he's well worth the re-sign here. And the other guy I was saying, like what you were saying, is Soroka. So I'll kind of touch on him. I closed out my tab on him. But This guy's getting a lot of media coverage right now. It's kind of like a sleeper pitcher, developmental pitcher, whatever you want to call it. So back in 2019 with Atlanta, he threw 174 innings. He had a 2.68 ERA. After that, he threw 13 innings in 2020, 32 in 2023. He had some brutal injuries.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't pitch for 3 full seasons. Came back to Atlanta in 23, and he was with the White Sox this year for 79 innings. He had a 4.74 ERA. So this is kind of like a guy, people are saying they can get him back to 2019 Mike Soroka. And I think I agree with you when you were saying about if it's going to be any team, it'll be the Guardians. So then if you're looking at it, let's say Soroka is, decent. You're looking at, I would say, Bybee, Boyd, Lively Soroka maybe, and then Gavin Williams or McKenzie,
whoever
McKenzie.
shows out.
That's
not bad at all.
No, and I don't see them being big spenders. I think they're going to be pretty happy with what they have. I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and get a Santander like you were saying, and
It's unlikely if we're gonna be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't go with how they do it, and to sign another big guy on top of J-Ram just seems not like the Guardians. If anything, I think they'll keep a few of their guys are going to be free agents next year and the following 2 years. So if anything, maybe that is more reason to go big this offseason because you know you're going to be losing some of the guys if you're not going to want to pay them. But then also, if you do pay a Santander, you probably won't be able to pay a Naylor. And if you want to pay a Naylor,
you say J-Ram.
Yeah,
I think they extended him.
yeah, no, he's like locked in for a while.
Okay,
I'm saying like on top of a J-Ram contract.
Okay, I see.
Are they going to low out like another big amount of money for that?
That's very true. They got J-Ram for steal too.
Yeah,
absolute steal.
Right.
Like he must have really wanted to stay there. Real quick with the starting pitching, I guess the only problem with that, like if like those guys you named, Bybee, Lively, Soroka, Boyd, and then whether it's Williams or McKenzie.
Yeah.
So if those guys play like they did this year, or at least the top 4 guys that you mentioned, they're golden for next year. However, there's 3 huge question marks there. So Lively and Boyd, they've had bad seasons and they've had good seasons like last year. You don't know what you're going to get from them, especially as they age. And then Soroka obviously is just a wild card.
Right.
So that's a very high risk, high reward. Like it could turn out really bad, or it could turn out like it did this year and just be. It could have a great rotation. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, imagine like the Mariners pitching rotation on this team. That'd be like a 110 win team or something. Because it is really impressive, seeing as they really had one good guy last year on their starting rotation, and I guess also a large part of this can go to the bullpen here for credit. But the whole team around this rotation is amazing, and the fact they won 92 is honestly really impressive. And not to discredit any of these guys, but they're not going to be, they're not a top half rotation, I would say, in the league. So
if you to pair the Mariners starting rotation with this bullpen would be insane.
Dude.
But I'll also say you could give probably 15 teams the Mariners starting rotation and they'd win 110 games. You could give the White Sox the Mariners starting rotation and they might make the playoffs.
No, dude, don't even. No. We would make it like a little close, and then our bullpen would come in again and blow ruin everything. Yeah, dude, don't even. Rebbia's a free agent. I should write him down for something one of these.
Yeah.
So
not the Tigers.
I think looking at it though, I still feel very confident. I guess I would say if the Guardians kind of sit on their hands again here and don't do a lot, then I think there's the risk of a Royals, a Tigers, or even a Twins, based on what I have them doing, of sneaking up to them. Because, I mean, they're only 6 games above the Royals and the Tigers, and the Twins had a very unfortunate collapse towards the end of the season. And so I think it was really close, really, all the way to the end. The Guardians kind of pulled away towards the end, but that's another thing is you have, I would say, 3 teams still that are well within contention for this. And so I think we know the Royals and the Tigers should spend.
Yes.
So are the Guardians going to feel okay with not spending a lot and risking these other teams getting better? Mm-hmm. And I still do think the Guardians will get better because they're just going to get older and more experience. They're still a really young team, so I guess there's a lot here. But
yeah. Well, we can move on to Kansas City. If you want, you can get this one started since I started.
Oh, yeah.
The Guardians.
I've got an interesting one here. So for the Royals, the big guy they already signed is Michael Wacha. He'll be back. And then they kept the rest of their starting rotation, which is really good. The bullpen I'm a fan of. They did trade away – no, they got Lucas Erceg from Oakland at the trade deadline last season. And for the most part, the bullpen I like. Maybe not Urseg's probably like the big closer guy, but a lot of solid arms here. I wouldn't be against going out and getting another one maybe. But for the way I have them spending their money, that might not be likely. So they still are. This is again a really, really young team, and the Royals I think are lacking. They're lacking power. I don't want to say power. They're lacking consistency. They're lacking depth of like hitters. They outside of like Bobby Witt, Salvi, and Pasquantino, there isn't much here, and that's that could be because they're all pretty young. There's not many guys on this list that I'm looking at that have a service time above 2 years. So again, a lot of youth here on this team. So I have some I think really interesting guys they can go out and get. So this is kind of, I think the Royals definitely have the money to go out and get this guy. I have Jerks and Profar here signing with the Royals. So he's a switch-handed hitter. He hits both sides really, really well. The splits are super even. He had 24 home runs last year, 839 OPS, like I said. A breakout season for him. I think he's 32. So not only do you bring in years of experience here, but you bring in a really good at-bat. And he can kind of play a few different positions. I know he played third. I was kind of pinned him at third for now, where Michael Garcia is. He hasn't played third base in a long time. I don't want to squeeze him out in left field because then that squeezes out Melendez. So that's kind of dicey. And even putting him at DH is also a little tricky here. But I think that could also be where he ends up. So, but I love the bat here, and the consistency is really, I'm saying consistency without was like his first kind of really good year, but I like there isn't a certain stat that stands out here. It's just good. It's good numbers.
His floor isn't as low as you would think either.
Right.
In the past 10 years.
So I think I like that. And then this other guy I found, Randall Grichuk.
Yep.
Grichuk. So he was on the Diamondbacks last season, and when I was looking at this team, I kind of thought they needed some outfield help. I don't think Kyle Isbell's really cutting it out in center.
No.
And you could even say Hunter Renfroe. I think his bat's good, but his defense probably isn't the best. And I was pretty shocked to see his numbers, Grichuk's. So he had a 914 OPS against lefties last season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the home run total up. I think it was up. I don't know if he hit 20 or not.
It was a good amount. I don't know. I don't know the exact.
So he had 876 OPS in total. He can play left, right, and center. And this is another bat I think they can just add here and just, I don't know, hit more home runs, hit more power, and get more guys on base here. And again, this is a guy with experience. I think that is something the Royals are lacking here. And I think this is a prime time for them to go out and get hitters here when, they had a big jump last season. And now, you find yourself 6 games out of finishing first in this division. And they did have the really unfortunate playoff exit to the Yankees here. And you did see their offense struggle a bit in that. So I think you get 2 experienced hitters here, and I think that can really help you out. I didn't have them going out and getting anything in the starting rotation. Maybe could have thrown in a bullpen guy. I did want to throw in Grishik's. The spot rag evaluation is $3 million on him. I think it'll be a little higher, to be honest, unless he really flies under the radar here and they get him for that cheap. I think he's worth more than that, but we'll see. I guess I'll throw it over to you now, but yeah.
First of all, I like the Grichuk signing a lot, and I feel like that really goes along with what they did last year with going after these older guys that are kind of proven, like Waka, Lugo. I don't know if they got Renfroe last year, but
yeah, they did.
So I feel like that fits what they've been doing the past couple of years a lot. And also, you were talking about Grichuk. It's huge for them to get that righty bat. You didn't go through the splits, did you?
No, I did not.
So with their
splits,
I
looked at them though. I forgot to mention it, but I'll let you do it.
So versus righties, 722 OPS, and then 672 versus lefties. So
do they
a 30 or a 50-point difference?
Yeah, so they have a lot of. It's actually pretty even split, but I know I think Bobby and Salvi both hit righties better. Salvi might take lefties better.
Salvi's a lefty. I think you're right about Bobby. I think he's better against righties, but
yeah, okay.
Looking at this is crazy. I don't know. I'm guessing it's the same for all teams, but at bats versus righty pitchers, 4,048 compared to 1,373. So almost a 3,000 difference in at bats between righties and lefties.
3,000, you said?
Yeah.
Wait, between
they
facing?
Face, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy. Like they hit 137 home runs versus righties and 33 versus lefties.
Yeah. Well, and I think you remember this. They would go on some insanely hot streaks and then really, really cold streaks.
It got rough.
And that could also play into like, how's your Bobby Witt doing? How's
that's
your Salvi
the depth.
doing?
That's all. Right. That's all depth right there. As soon as Salvi had a very, very rough stretch that one time, and then when you pair that with Bobby having a rough stretch, it can get very tough.
Absolutely.
So I like the Grichuk and the other offensive guys. I I agree. Isbell has to go, or he has to be on the bench. His defense is very good. He's got some speed, but his hitting is just, it's not going to cut it next year,
Yes.
especially if you want to fight for that
Right.
divisional title. But I said Teoscar Hernandez. So I honestly,
That would be fun.
it'd be fun, and that's like my big one they have. I don't know if all these teams are going to go after these big guys, but the Royals, after spending last year and showing that they wanted to win after a 52-win season, this year I think they're going to even crank it up a notch. So I think this is more of a possibility than Santander to the Guardians, like I said. And you were talking about Melendez, dude. I don't know. This will be his fourth year.
That's what I was looking at. I was like, okay, he's young, but 3 full seasons of what, a 700 OPS?
And last year wasn't even not even that.
He hasn't hit 20 home runs in the season.
Batting
yet.
average is atrocious.
Low,
206.
And so it's like, how much more leash are you gonna get this? He's only like 25.
He's hot and cold too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He started the season so hot, and then the last like 75% of the season was just
it's tricky to
horrendous.
Because you wanna, what's the line between giving your young guys run, but also like, okay,
not
when
killing
you,
yourself.
when are you
not
actually
killing
gonna
your team.
when are you actually gonna start hitting for us?
Yeah.
So yeah, Teoscar, I'm looking at Fangraphs.
Dude, he's nuts.
They're saying
he kills lefties too. 3
years, 69 million, so that'd be 23 mil a year, which I definitely think is within range for the Royals.
Yeah.
I think that I feel like that fits for some reason too. I feel like that just makes sense.
I feel like it'll be a little. I feel like he'll want a longer contract. I said 4 for 80, so 20
Okay.
per year. Yeah, and like you said, I think he's perfect for the young hitters. He seems to fit in every culture. Like he's always happy.
He would, well, and I think like you know how like the Royals always hit well at home, or like that's the thing. Like their home and away splits are actually really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Teoscar, like not that he'd hit bad at away, but there is something about Kaufman and the fans are really good, and you can tell the players feed off of that. And Teoscar seems like a guy that would do that too.
Absolutely. Is that a good thing though? Do you want
him?
Do you want the top heavy home splits versus?
Oh, I mean,
it's still a good thing.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any way to like avoid that.
I think that was mostly a coincidence, honestly.
Yeah, but I think for a guy like Bobby, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, I would say his
for
him,
are pretty big, and I think that's. I think he loves Kansas City, and that crowd is something else.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, I mean, you saw that clip. He did a post game interview after walking off, and they all just started saying his name, and he like steps away from the mic, like he was being kind of lame about it. Not lame, but like corny. He like stepped away and started like look around, like the so good moment. It's kind of like cringy, but I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, dude, he's gonna be insane. It'd surprise me if he didn't win at least one MVP in his career. Like,
well, isn't he? He's a finalist this year already.
Yeah,
between
he's locked for at least third. I think he might even overtake Soto with the defense and the speed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's gonna be fun. But I also Teoscar replacing Melendez, and then it kind of gets tough because even Renfroe wasn't great last year.
Mm-mm. He had I mean, even 15 home runs isn't great, but it's something.
But that's all he really has to offer, though.
Yeah, he batted .229 and he had a below 300 on base.
And his arm is really good, but he's definitely getting
older.
Slow out there. Yeah.
I don't think his outside of his arm, I don't think his defense was ever his calling card either.
No,
it was that power. It's actually interesting. So on the projected lineup they're having, all 8 of the 9 guys, their original teams were Kansas City. So that's how young this lineup is. Or I don't know, because Salvy's the one oddball here where he has 12 years of MLB time, but everybody else is either this is their first or second year, which is crazy. And then Renfroe's the other one that stands out. The original team was the Padres. He's been here for 6 years.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy that I think it's still impressive how big of a jump they made last year. And I think they would be dumb not to keep pushing on that and
I agree.
Keep going with what they have.
So I just threw in there another outfielder. I'm not really sure whether you want to take out Renfroe or Isbell, and the debate is who's going to play center field, because none of these, a lot of these guys don't. They just play the corner outfield. I said sign Max Kepler, and I guess it might be kind of tough because this is another not righty killer, because he still had a rough year last year, but I feel like you could get him on a bargain because he had some great seasons, and then this past season he was kind of rough. So 2023, so not last year but the year before, 24 home runs, 66 RBIs with an .816 OPS, so great season. And then this last year, Injuries kind of hit him, but he still played 105 games, 8 home runs, 42 RBIs with a 682 OPS. So I think that can come right back. He's only 31 years old, and yeah, I mean, for a bargain, you could get him, and then you got Teoscar Hernandez, the lefty killer, and then Max Kepler, the righty killer. Just to add those two for
That'd be nice.
not an outrageous price would be big. And then I said, I think they need at least one high leverage bullpen arm.
I would agree with
Pretty
you.
bad?
Yes.
And looking at their bullpen right now,
You don't think it's Ursack? Or you're saying they need another one?
I'm saying like an eighth inning guy.
Oh, okay.
So
Ooh,
they got
Clay
their closer.
Holmes.
I do not. Well, I have a lefty because right now they have Bubik, who was good, 2.67 ERA. I like him a lot. And then Long and Lynch. I think you need to add one more lefty in there. Those guys were all decent last year, but
Yeah.
I don't even know if this would be high leverage, but I said Andrew Chafin. He had a 3.51 last year. And with the Tigers, it was like a 3.2 or something. It was even lower. When he got traded, he did a little bit worse. But
well, now that you say that, I actually think Clay Holmes fits that bill perfectly if you use him as the Yankees did towards the end of the season. I think
pair with Weaver like that.
Yeah,
with
I think a Clay Holmes, Lucas Urseg 8-9 would actually be really enticing for the Royals here. I don't know how expensive Clay Holmes is going to be for them. That could be the other thing. Let me take a look here.
And then, I'll throw another lefty ahead. I said Brooks Raley. You can get him super cheap. 2022, 2.68 ERA in 53 innings. And 2023, 2.8 in 54 innings. And then he was injured last year, so that's the big kind of question mark. But when he's out there, he's great. Do you have the numbers on, or the market value?
Yeah, so Fangraphs is saying 2 years, 20, so that'd be $10 million.
For Holmes?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know about that.
In comparison, Tanner Scott, which I think this could even be a little low. Tanner Scott's at 336, and Jeff Hoffman, the Phillies, he's at 330.
I feel like these bullpen arms are getting a lot of money now. A lot more than they used to. Like Hader got that huge contract.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a bullpen guy.
I'm noticing like these 1-year contracts for pitchers, starting pitchers and relief pitchers, are pretty dang expensive.
Especially if they're not going to be your closer.
Right. Like even Craig Kimball, his value on here still says $6 million, which they probably won't sign.
Yeah,
for that,
there's no way. Like, do you want Clay Holmes for 2 years, $20 million if he's not even going to be your closer?
Oh yeah,
I think you do.
If he does what he did,
you don't think that's too much? No,
I mean, I think you saw how good a stretch of bullpen arms can be with the Guardians last year.
Yeah.
And I think there's no better way to spend your money, to be honest. Bullpen is very huge. I mean, you could go off of why the Dodgers won the World Series. Their bullpen was amazing.
Playoffs, it's huge.
And I think we've seen a very, very good Clay Holmes before, and I think towards the end of the year we saw it again with him coming in as no longer being the closer. And I think $20 million. I think that's worth it. I think I would do that.
I guess with the bullpen situation they're at right now, I think it probably would be worth it in the end. And then lastly, I'll touch on their starting rotation. I agree with you. I don't think you need to touch it. I think it's very, very good. I think it was smart to get Waka.
I know before you keep going on that. There's been reports of a Brady Singer, Jonathan India trade.
Oh yeah.
I just kind of wanted to bring that up. That would be so. Now that I guess I have the numbers pulled up. Singer had a 3.71 ERA last year. That was his third full year ish of service. He had 180 innings pitched, 170 strikeouts. So.
You want me to?
Yeah,
do India's?
Go pull up India's.
And then I'll give you these stats, and then I'll kick it to you first for who do you think says no in this situation, or do they both say yes?
Yeah. Okay.
So, you said 3.71 last year, and then didn't he have a good season either the year before or 2 years before?
Let me get I'll pull up his full numbers.
Yeah. So Jonathan India last year, 15 home runs, 58 RBIs with a 750 OPS and a 105 OPS plus. So very middling, and he also plays in Cincinnati, which is a hitter's park, one of the most hitters' park. So keep that in mind. And his splits, home and away, are drastic. He's way worse away.
So
it's a little
might
scary.
Make a difference.
Yes.
To put him out of a Great American.
You would think.
So Singer, I guess you would call 2022 his breakout campaign. He had 153 innings with a 3.23. This past season, he had almost 180 with a 3.7. 2023, though, he pitched 159. He had a 5.52. And then in 2021, I guess his first kind of full season ish, he had 128 innings with a 4.9. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I don't want to say like a mid-off, but it's, and I think you're getting more value for the Reds at a Singer here, and especially to the point you're making about India's home and away splits. Like, that's actually really concerning, knowing what the Reds ballpark is and how friendly it is. So then you become like, okay, you take India and put him in another environment, one that isn't Cincinnati. Is he gonna even? Well, and we know he's not even like a fantastic hitter right now. So then you add on not playing in Cincinnati all the time. Is that gonna make it even worse? And then you just gave away one of your top young arms in your system, or in your rotation, for a below average second baseman.
And real quick, another thing to keep in mind, I guess. So we just said that Kansas City's looking pretty good on starting rotation side of things. Their second baseman is Michael Massey, which is not good. So that also fits into the equation. So who says no? Who do you think?
I think the Royals say no for sure.
I would agree, yes.
I think the Reds would have to throw in something else.
I agree. I think Brady Singer, he's still like young. He's still 28 years old. I know Jonathan Indy's young, but India hasn't really shown that upwards trajectory. It's always just been middle, nothing else. I guess he might be consistent, but do you want a consistently average player or a player that's trending upwards? So
even Michael Massey, he had a 259. He had 14 home runs. Probably was that near 750 OPS?
Yeah, 740, 750. So I guess that's not.
And that was his first full year. So I mean, why would you even stop getting him going? So
you're right. I didn't even realize that he had that good of a year. Yeah, so 100% Kansas City says no.
Oh, Michael Massey, this clown.
Yeah, Michael Massey's so bad.
All right.
Bad one.
Lead off. So we'll bounce it over now to the third place team, and we're going to give this one to Parker, obviously, Tigers fan, and I'm going to kind of let him give his little take here about what they should do. Obviously, he probably knows the team much better than I ever would. And so, I'll just throw it over to you and see what you got for us.
Okay, so looking at the Detroit Tigers starting lineup next year, I saw two big weaknesses. First of all, the outfield I absolutely love. I love like Parker Meadows out there, Kerry Carpenter, whether he's DH or not, Riley Green, Matt Vierling. Those guys I'm super high on. I think they're going to replicate what they did last year and then some. But I am very, very skeptical on the left side of the infield between Jace Young and Trey Sweeney. And this is very tough, and this is kind of what Harris has been saying. So this scares me because there was this. It was either this meeting where all the executives meet and just like talk about like their plans for the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And Harris, like he blatantly said it's very unlikely that we go and get Bregman.
Okay.
Because we don't want to block the development of our young guys.
Who's coming up at third?
Third base right now?
Who would be?
Well, Jace Young is projected to be.
Oh, okay.
So, yes,
and
he said.
He can't play anywhere else on the field. Probably not.
He can play second, but Colt Keith is at second. Right. So
kind of a log jam.
It's likely Jace Young and Trey Sweeney on the left side, and that scared me. Him saying that, and this comes down to the question that you were saying. So, at what point? I mean, Jace Young and Trey Sweeney are super young. They're different than the other examples we've had. But at what point are we in like the rebuild mode? Like let these young guys struggle and let us struggle with them, or do we move on and have them kind of just sit in the shadow and wait for these older guys? So I think we have to go after it. I think we have Jace Young and Trey Sweeney kind of just sit back a little bit. Specifically the shortstop. I said Trey Sweeney. So my plan A, and this is kind of.
So you have 3 plans, right?
I have 3 plans.
Okay.
You can probably guess my plan A. I said Willie Adames, and I know that there's a ton of teams going after him. The Dodgers and the Yankees are going to be putting bids on him. I think a lot of these teams are going to have focuses on like Soto, hopefully, but like the Dodgers, if they don't get Soto, they're probably going to get Willie Adames. So
yeah,
it's tough. They also need a right-hand bat very bad. I'm actually all three of these plans for shortstop, I have they're all righty bats that can hit lefties well. So the Tiger splits last year. Neither of these OPSs are good, so keep that in mind.
Okay.
Versus righties 693 versus lefties 659. So
Okay.
still like around a 35 point difference between righty and lefties. So I think it'd be nice to get Willie Adames, especially with, like I said, all these lefties like Colt Keith, Kerry Carpenter, Parker Meadows, Riley Green. So that would help balance out this lineup, replacing Trey Sweeney, who's a lefty.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my plan A. Now plan B, the drop off between plan A and plan B is pretty big.
Okay.
I said Ha-Seong Kim. I like him a lot. His
Yeah.
defense is stellar. Hitting is very, very mid. But defense is so good. And obviously shortstop, I guess you can make a case for catcher and center, but shortstop might be the most important position on the field. But this last year, 11 home runs, 47 RBIs. He missed 40 games.
I was going to say, he didn't play the whole
I'm not
season,
sure if
did
that
he?
was an injury or if that was just if they had other guys kind of filling in for him. But 700 OPS, 96 OPS plus. But then the two previous years, so last year, 2023, 17 home runs, 60 RBIs, 260 average with a 749 OPS and a 107 OPS plus. So if we can get that with the defense, because he had a Gold Glove in 2023, that'd be like that's all you could ask for. That's very good. And replacing Trey Sweeney, who wasn't great last year, and I honestly think it's going to take some time for him to get to the point that we want him to. I don't think it's going to even be next year that he'll have the offensive production that we need.
I take it you don't want Javi playing short anymore.
Javi's on the bench. He shouldn't even be on the bench. He should be.
So I know he'll be healthy again. Is he actually gonna? He won't.
I've
play,
been seeing
right?
things that he's going to be a bench bat, but he will 100% be on the roster.
Okay.
Come opening day.
Okay.
It's
Well, I
that
mean,
sunk cost thing again.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, Ha-Seong Kim, Javi on the bench. Don't even worry about him. And then my plan C. This is kind of exciting to me, and I know you like this guy a lot with the vibes that he brought. Do you have any guess at all?
The vibes.
Shortstop, the vibes he brought to this team that he was on last year. He came to this team last year. Mid podcast pop quiz.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm a vibes guy, so I should know.
He went to this team. Shortstop. Hit like crazy. The fans loved him.
Wait, no.
When I tell you, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I should have immediately went to this guy."
Does he only play shortstop, or does he play other positions?
No, he just plays short. He
just plays short.
Yeah, not a home run guy. High average.
Don't tell me. The playoff team, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Not the I don't. Yeah.
Oh my God. Jose Iglesias.
He plays second. What do you mean?
Well,
are you kidding me?
He's listed as a shortstop. He's always been a shortstop. But it was just because
it's Lindor, dude.
Right. It was just because of Lindor. Would you have went to him if I?
What?
He's been a shortstop
if you
his
said
whole
second,
career.
it would have helped me.
Yeah, you're right. That's my bad. I guess.
He is a vibes guy, though. I'll give you that.
So
very vibes.
He is very, very competent to play shortstop. His defense is still really good.
He was on the Tigers too before, wasn't he?
That's why I think it's exciting to me. So, not a home run guy. 51 home runs in his career in 12 years.
Oh my God.
But 337 average last year, 830 OPS in almost 300 at bats. He didn't even play in 23. I think it's because just nobody signed him. And then 22
He's
292 average. His average is always there, but the power is never there.
Right.
Going back to his years with the Tigers, he actually got an All-Star with the Tiger. This might be the lowest production in terms of counting stats for an All-Star. 2 home runs, 23 RBIs.
Wait, why do?
But a 300 batting average and a 717 OPS with the defense.
With the defense, yeah, that makes sense.
So, on the Tigers, he was around a 270 career average. I thought it would have been a little bit higher, but still, I think if you go out and get him, that'd be great. However, if you do that, you have to do more, I think, on top of that.
Yeah.
So that's my plan C. That's why. Most likely, I think the Tigers get Ha-Seong Kim. I don't think we're able to land Adames, even though that would make me very, very happy. Kim would also be a lot cheaper, and Jose Iglesias would be even cheaper than that. Because right now I think Adames is projected for like 4 years, 100 mil or something kind of outrageous like that. And he's also like the only high caliber shortstop on the market, which spikes his value.
So the Ha-Seong Kim one is interesting here because do you feel like the Tigers need offense more than they need defense? Or would you say it's Ha-Seong Kim, it doesn't matter. He's still really good no matter what.
Definitely offense, yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I feel like on a team that needs more firepower, Ha-Seong Kim is not going to be the guy to do that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, his OPS is right a little above 700 every year from what I'm looking at. He hasn't really gone anywhere past that. His best year of average was 260. Normally on base for over a 300 clip. His best was 351. Doesn't slug above 400. And the glove is great, don't get me wrong.
But is that what you want?
Right, and then looking at, again, this is all Fangraphs, so just kind of projected. But I'll get his, they are saying, I see it. It's, they're saying, and this could be wrong, but they're saying it's 4 years, $73 million for him.
Really?
Yeah. So that's near a $20 million, and I can pull up what Spot Rack might think.
So, okay.
And I would even be skeptical to say, okay, maybe I don't think it'd be that much.
So, well, the problem with that is, if I agree with you, we need offense a lot more than defense. Even if it's shortstop, like we need the firepower. However, it goes Willie Adames, Ha-Seong Kim, and then it drops off to like Paul DeYoung and like Garrett Hampson and
True.
like. So there's really much. If you don't want Ha-Seong because he doesn't bring the firepower, that means you have to target another position.
Yeah.
Which is hard too, because like, do you bring Bregman in? I think Bregman's overpriced, and I don't think he'd fit with the longer left field and like.
Yeah.
It just
like what you were saying about how does that block your development? Also, I think it does 100%.
Yeah.
I checked on Spot Rack. They're saying 12 million, so like 450.
For who?
Kim.
Okay, Kim. Got
so I think that makes a little more sense than what Fangraphs has him at, and I would be more okay with signing him to that kind of a deal than anything else. And yeah, I think it would be really fun to watch him play at short. Definitely a breath of fresh air from Javi Baez over the past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the bat could definitely come around. I was actually checking out some of his KBO numbers. I know it's kind of different over in the KBO, but in his last year in KBO, he had 30 home runs. So, I mean, there's something there.
There's some power.
There's something there.
And he had 17 and was it
23
22 or 23?
23. And then he had 11 and 22 and 11 and 24, but 24 was a shorter year as well.
Yeah.
So, I think that is overall, I'd be on board for that. And you were saying, I don't know if I missed it, but starting pitching, rotation, bullpen, all good?
No.
Okay.
So, starting rotation, this is where it gets really kind of exciting. It gets exciting for me, though.
Okay.
Going after guys. Because, like we were saying, the star power, there's the free agent market in terms of hitting is very bare.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of guys you can get for starting pitching, though. The starting pitching is a lot more exciting to me.
Yeah.
So this guy, you're going to be competing with the Dodgers again. He had a down year last year, but I guess that's a better thing for us because we're cheaper than these other big market teams. But I think Walker Buehler would be awesome to get. Last year, 5.38 ERA in 75 innings. So his value, he plummeted his value, but he somewhat recovered it in the postseason.
Right.
But and even in the postseason, he had like a 3.7 ERA in like 15 innings. So nothing crazy, but in the World Series, he dealt. I'll give him that. He was amazing. So before this, he was like a Cy Young caliber pitcher. I'm just going to go through the ERAs from 2018 through 2021. 2.6, 3.2, 3.4, 2.4. And then 2022, he had a 4 ERA in only 65 innings. And then he had Tommy John. It was Tommy John, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Tommy John missed the last half of 22 and then missed all of last year. So this year, very rough. I felt bad for him. Like I said, he kind of made up for it, redeemed himself in the postseason. So I think he'd be great to get. I think Chris Fetter, the Tigers pitching coach, would be able to get him back to his peak, similar to Jack Flaherty, who's my next guy they should go get.
Back to Detroit.
Again,
baby.
Competing with the Dodgers.
What plan is this in? What did you group this in, like your plan A, B, or
I
C?
didn't.
How much money are they going to spend here?
Well, Bueller's not going to be much.
You don't think so?
It's only going to be. I think he'll do what we were talking about with Bieber. I think he'll only want like a 1 or 2 year
to get back, kind of.
Like he's not going to be more than 20
mil.
mil.
You don't think Flaherty's going to demand a lot?
He's going to be, yes.
Okay.
This is where the kind of heavy contract is going to come in. So I think the fit is perfect. He's 4.2 ERA in 2022, 4.99 in 2023, spread out across 2 teams, St. Louis and Baltimore. And then last year, comes to the Tigers, completely revitalizes his career. 2.95 with the Tigers in 106 innings, 7-5 record. Strikeout per 9, 11.2. Walks per 9, 1.6. So he had one of the best strikeout to walk ratios when he's on the Tigers. Went to the Dodgers, did a little worse, still dealt 3.58 ERA. Very rough in the playoffs. So I think he's going to look at what the Tigers did for him and like what they were able to do, and he's going to want to go back there because he knows that he can likely perform like he did with Chris Fetter. However, this, like you said, this is going to be very, very expensive. 4 years, 100 mil is around like where he's at. I said 4 years, 92 mil, so 23 AAV. He might be the second highest pitcher on the market other than Corbin Burns. Would you agree? Blake Snell. Okay, so probably third, fourth, something around that. So he's gonna be demanding a lot of money. He loves Detroit. He's raised about Detroit. Like he tweeted after the Tigers got knocked out. He tweeted multiple times after Scuba won Cy Young. Like he loves all the guys. The fit is perfect in terms of that. But he's a Cali kid and he loves California. Like he's always said that.
Picture with him in the Dodgers hat when he was like 5.
Yeah, he does not. It's going to be tough to convince somebody to go back to Detroit after experiencing what it's like in Los Angeles, especially long-term 4 years, because he was only with the Tigers a half year just to like get his value back up.
Right. I think it would be, you said Flaherty, and who was the other guy you were saying?
Bueller.
I think I don't really see a world where that happens. I think one or the other, and I think if I had to pick, I'd pick Flaherty, to be honest, over Bueller.
I would too,
because then you, like you were saying, probably get him for longer. And then, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Well, I'll just go into this point. So we both know the Tigers had quite the historic end to the season, and I remember in like mid-July, when I was talking to you, it was kind of like the average Tigers kind of like, 500, like season's over, it doesn't matter, who cares. Do you think there's a scenario here where the Tigers maybe get one guy? Let's say they get a stud pitcher, a stud hitter, one or the other, and they get a few other smaller guys. I get worried about a scenario where, and don't like hate me when I say this, but I get worried about a scenario here where they ride off the momentum from last year of that super hot stretch they went on, the insane amount of, I don't want to say like luck or anything or like that, but all the bullpen guys are going. Skubal is a Cy Young, he's a Triple Crown winner, and I wouldn't even say the hitting was honestly that great, so maybe that turns around. But I get worried about them getting a little too complacent this offseason and them actually having less wins next year.
Because they just don't do anything?
Yes. I think that's a real scenario here. Where they give their young guys a chance to go. Yeah. They don't go out and get many free agents. Maybe, they get 1 or 2. And then, all of a sudden this bullpen that was really good last year, everybody starts to see them again. They're not as good. Maybe the hitting gets a little bit better. You could also bank on Torque probably having a better season, hopefully. And Green continuing to he had a really pretty solid season last year. Yeah. And then maybe somebody like Colt Keith, he puts together a really great long season. So there's a couple factors here, but I get worried about complacency here. And, are you going to bet on Tariq Skubal having a 2.38 ERA again? And
I think you can with that. I think that's the
I
one
think
thing
it's
you
realistic.
can. But he could get injured. I
Right.
think that's more likely
Yeah.
than him not performing.
And and I know you were saying, how I guess the bullpen funny business and rocking Skubal and Keter Montero works at the end of the season when you're trying to get in the playoffs and fighting. Does that work 162 games though? And they will go out and get a starting pitcher. They will do that. But is whatever they're going to be enough to hold them back to what they did have?
I'll say that complacency that you were talking about, I think that's a lot more likely than I would like to admit. Especially with the comments that I was talking to you about with Scott Harris about not wanting to block the development.
Right.
And then Chris Ilitch compared to his dad, Mike Ilitch, who passed away. Chris is a lot more cheap. Like, I think that could easily happen, and that scares me so much. Because we do need to take another step, like you said. Like that bullpen magic is not going to work. That Skubal, Keter, and then just bullpen chaos.
You do have Job coming up.
That's going to be huge.
He'll get a full season of Job,
but it's still a rookie. It's
true.
Not everybody's Paul Skeens, obviously.
Right.
So, that's super scary to me. I'm going to give a couple more exciting guys that I had coming back, and I think it's pretty likely that one of these two happen. You can tell me if I'm crazy. We might have already talked about this. Max Scherzer and Verlander. I think one of those guys is going to come back on a 1-year deal. They're both getting old. Bring the energy back. It's not like we're just we're still competing. We could still get a playoff spot. These guys could still be pitching the playoffs. Scherzer 2.95 or 3.95 ERA last year in only 43 innings. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, as you can assume, since he's getting older. But before that, 2.46 and 21, 2.29 and 22, 3.77 and 23. So I think he's like one of the guys that you would rather get over Verlander, because Scherzer, he hasn't really had that down season yet, even with the age.
Right.
Now Verlander, they always said he ages like fine wine. He's always gonna be there. 2022, age 39 season, he won the Cy Young, 18-4 with a 1.75 ERA. Led in WHIP, led in hits per 9, just amazing. 2023, another great season, 3.22 and 162 innings. 2023, 3.15. That was part of the 2023 season. He split it between the Mets and Houston. And then last year, 5.48 and 90 innings. He had neck problems the whole time. He started the season with a shoulder problem. So I think he could easily come back to not what he was in 2022, but he could still be a very good pitcher.
Yeah.
And both these pitchers love pitching in Comerica. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, right.
With the pitcher's park, but that would be awesome for me.
And awesome for a lot of Detroit fans.
Oh yeah, that would make me. Scherzer's my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
I love Scherzer. I love Verlander too, but Scherzer, I've always liked him, especially when he went to the Nats. But real quick before we kick it over to the Twins, you can start them.
Okay.
So I said Spencer Turnbull, bring him back. I like this a lot.
I did. Okay, I looked into him a bit. I agree with you on this one.
So if we get Jack Flaherty, these last three guys that I mentioned, they might be pretty tough to get, especially with how much you're paying Flaherty. But if we get Buehler, I think we could easily get one of these guys. And again, some of this may never happen. We may be completely
it's all speculation
and not get anything.
Yeah,
like you said,
is now a good
I'm worried
time
about
for
that
the
too.
note that we're not experts and this is all just
Yeah.
maybe a 25% chance guess of
Right.
any of this being right.
We have no inside information.
Literally any
at
of
all.
this could be wrong.
So, Spencer Turnbull. Jeez, I'm looking at his 2019. This is his second year. 4.61 ERA. He was 3-17.
Well, and
that was the year that we were
look at how many
terrible.
innings he's thrown after that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, is he a starter or is he a relief guy?
So he was a starter with us.
Oh, okay.
And then 2020, 3.97 and 56 innings. And then 2021, before he got injured with Tommy John, 2.88 and 50 innings.
So
his last 2 years with us was good, yes. Didn't play in 2022. And then kind of the reason we got rid of him in 2023, 7.26 ERA and 31 innings. Very, very rough, coming off the injury, so got to come some slack. And then last year kind of went back to what he was with the Tigers for the flashes that he showed. 2.65 ERA, 54 innings. I kind of felt bad for him last year because, well, he did get injured at the end. That's why his innings pitch is so low. But
Well, I think he was in 17 games, which isn't a lot,
Yeah.
but he only started 7, so he was coming in relief.
when he
too.
started, he was amazing.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
Taiwan Walker, who they were paying all
Oh,
that,
that was this.
they
yeah,
kept
yeah,
paying
yeah,
him all that
yeah.
money.
Yep.
So I felt bad for Turnbull because Turnbull's
That's what
dealing,
happened.
and we just feel like
He
since
was-
we paid Walker,
He was their 5th, and then they brought back Walker, and nobody wanted
Yeah.
Walker to pitch, but that's just
that
what
was
happened.
frustrating to see.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
To get him back, he'll be super cheap. He
I
can
think,
start for us. He's got the energy, so
I think a Matthew Boyd is also very realistic.
I like
here,
that a lot too.
because he
That
was also a Detroit guy.
yeah,
and
he loved Detroit too.
I think that totally makes sense to bring him back. And if you're saying like maybe a cheaper guy here,
Absolutely.
but he's been in Detroit, he's pitched well, that would be another one I think is very realistic.
I think there's a 95 at least % chance that one of these guys that we just mentioned, whether it's Boyd, Turnbull, JV, Scherzer, Bueller, Flaherty, one of those guys is going to be on the Tigers for sure next year.
I think that's a very good chance too, 100%.
So if we can get 2 of those guys, awesome. But yeah, that's my plan for the Tigers. It might be a sad offseason for me, or it could be a very exciting offseason
Let's hope the latter.
based off these projections. Yeah. So if you want to get a
Yeah.
start with the Twins, if you're all
So
set.
I have one big guy here for the Twins, and I really think they're in a good spot to do it. So, and I didn't honestly focus too much on the pitching, and I guess that isn't for a horrible reason. Looking at their guys, so Pablo Lopez, kind of a down year last year. He started off poorly and kind of picked it up towards the end. He had a 4.08 at the finish. Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, the next guys up. 3.6, 3.98 respectively, and then Simeon Woods Richardson had a 4.17. I like that for the most part, and I'm not against them going out and getting somebody here. But I don't really see this getting worse. I see it getting better, especially with Woods Richardson. I think that was his rookie year last year, and I really like Bailey Ober. I know we talked about that stretch of quality starts he had. It was like 15, 16 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Joe Ryan, great, and the Pablo Lopez can be the ace. You just gotta hope he finds some of that form.
I think he'll return.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So that I am, for the most part, not super concerned with right now. So we all know this about the Twins. Very, very injury-prone team. Buxton, Lewis, Correa all spent time on the IL last year. Really unfortunate. Trying to keep these guys on the field. Still impressive, though. They were a top 15 team in OPS and average, which I thought was pretty impressive despite losing all those guys. They were 21st in team RA. So another thing I highlighted was that they do need some power. I don't know how shocking this is, and this could also just be because they didn't have a lot of guys play a full season, but they had no player with 20-plus home runs last season. I don't know how many teams didn't have a guy that didn't hit 20, but I'm assuming it's a very small list.
Yes.
So my one question mark here was Santana, Carlos Santana. He is their free agent, or one of their free agents. He did win the Gold Glove this year, which I didn't really. That kind of
I
blew
did
by
not
me.
know that. That's crazy.
And he was their team leader in home runs as well, so really solid. But so this is what I say: don't re-sign Santana, but then you have a hold first. You could throw Jose Miranda in there. Not really a big fan of that. It doesn't bring much power. You have Willie Castro, going to be a free agent, 26, and same with Christian Vasquez. These guys are taking up, outside of like the big kind of Buxton and Correa, these guys are taking up decent contract space. So I think you find suitors for these guys, you trade them. They do have Ryan Jeffers, I think, is the other catcher in Minnesota.
Yeah, he's good.
I actually think he touched 20 home runs last year, so maybe my stat really wasn't incorrect. He either had 20 or I think he was close to 20 because I was kind of like, whoa, Jeffers had 20.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think you trade these two guys, you clear up some cap space, and then you go out and sign Pete Alonso to a big deal here.
Wow.
I love what this brings to the Twins. There's not one season that Pete Alonso's really missed time at all. And in the 5 full seasons he's played, excluding 2020, he's hit 30-plus home runs in every single one of them. So you're getting health, which is what the Twins need, and you're getting power, another thing that Twins need. Having that and having 150 games, 160 games out of this guy and knowing he's kind of probably deliver some power, maybe not average, but power, I think is huge for this team. And it fits right in perfectly with replacing Santana. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to them re-signing if they don't go out and get Pete Alonso. But I think, oh man, it gets me excited about the Twins. I didn't have any starting pitchers written down. The one guy I did write down, and this would kind of be a homecoming for Jorge Lopez back in Minnesota. I'm sure you'll remember, and the listeners will remember, back when he was with the Mets earlier this season, he threw his glove up into the net and started yelling at the fans, and a very, very bad situation. But I will add, the Cubs re-signed him later that season. He pitched 26 innings with them. He had a 2.03 ERA. He did pitch in Minnesota before, was really good there. I think if they bring him back, that'd be a really good move. I don't know where he's at personally and how the whole media and teams are feeling about that whole situation. Obviously, the Cubs signed him, so there must be still some interest there. But he's a free agent now, and I think with the addition of Griffin Jackson they had this offseason, then you still have Johan Duran. You still have, Cole Sands as well, Jorge Alcala. There's some pieces here in the bullpen, and you add a Jorge Lopez here. I think that helps a lot. And then I think you stay, if you're going to go out inside Pete, I think you stay pretty content with what you have at the starting rotation. But then think about this kind of an infield. So it's Pete Alonso at first. You have Brooksley at second. Correa at short. And then third base is Royce Lewis if he stays healthy. And we know what Royce Lewis can do when he stays healthy. So that was kind of my big signing for them. And I'll let you know. Or I'll throw it to you.
I want to ask first. So you said this gets you really excited, like the Pete Alonso prediction. So they were 82 and 80 last year. How much better do you think Pete Alonso makes them?
Do you want me like a win fact? Like how many more wins? Or
how many wins from 82 to what? What does that jump to from Pete Alonso? Nothing else changes.
I think the most important thing the Twins have to do is find a way to stay healthy. I mean, they have talent on this team.
Let's just say everything stays the same.
Everything stays the same.
The guys will get injured like they usually do.
They at least hit 90, at least.
Because of Pete Alonso.
Well, okay, but you're going to say, okay, everybody stays healthy? Then yes, I say at least 90.
I'm saying everything else is the same. Like, Lewis gets hurt as much as he does.
Oh, okay.
Correa gets hurt.
Copycat season, add Pete Alonso.
Because that's yes.
Maybe add 4 or 5, 86, 87.
Dude, I don't even think you can do that. I think maybe 1 or 2.
You think?
Replacing, like, Carlos Santana, I know Pete Alonso. You want to pull Pete Alonso's stats up. So,
yeah.
Carlos Santana, better defense. Apparently. I didn't even know this. Gold glove.
Kind of oddball.
Better defense than Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso's defense is just right in the middle, maybe a little below average. I'm not 100%. But 23 home runs, 71 RBIs for Santana. 238 average with a 749 OPS.
That was this season?
This season.
Okay.
So I know the counting stats are going to be different. Pete Alonso's going to be better, but read off Pete's stats.
So 24.
Last year, yes.
240, 329, 459 slugging, a 788 OPS with 34 home runs, 88 RBIs.
So, like, there's not that much of a difference there, I feel like.
I guess I'm banking on
the resurgence.
Go back 4 more years and look at every other year before that.
Yeah.
And, 2019 is 5 years ago now, but he had a 941 OPS. He had 53 home runs in 2019.
But every year's been down.
I know.
It's scary.
Different.
Every year's gotten worse.
It is different.
Which is so weird. Rookie year to now.
It is, because looking back at 23, he had a 217 average. But he did hit 46 home runs. This year, sacrificed a bit of the power, got the average up a bit more. He did have an 822 OPS 23. He had an 870 in 22. So, yes, it is a risk. But you're telling me a Carlos Santana nearing the end of his career you're gonna be okay with that outside of a Pete Alonso, who I think is still
I'm not optimistic on the Twins. I'll get into all my things. I don't know. I don't know if that can get you I don't know if that can get you excited.
If you're gonna commit all this money to Correa and Buxton, you might as well keep adding talent.
But this is the problem. The Twins have expressed, and this is a factor for all AL Central. They want to cut their spending down.
They did say that?
They said they want to cut their spending down.
Yikes!
I mean, think about it. They were like the second or third wildcard team at the deadline, and they did nothing. Like they never buy. If anything, it's always a soft sell, even when they're good.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we go back to the point of this is what we think they should do, not what they think they will do. So yes, but probably unrealistic scenario, but I think that'd be so cool.
It'd be cool, but I don't know.
I get what you're saying too.
So okay, I'll say I also said they need a first baseman, but first I'm going to get into the depth. So Correa, Buxton, and Lewis, we know like those guys are constantly hurt. I think you need some depth because, I mean, you can almost bank on one of those guys getting injured for a lot of the season. Unfortunately, like every year it happens. So eventually it's just not a coincidence anymore. So I said get somebody, and I'm not saying get all three of these guys, but maybe a combination of one or two. But I said Kike Hernandez, Paul DeYoung, Ahmed Rosario. Just get some of those guys. I don't know if you want to get somebody like DeYoung to just ride the bench because he's still a decent hitter. Especially if they're cutting costs. I don't know how likely that is, but I just said those guys, like Paul DeYoung, 97 OPS plus, is kind of in the middle, 24 home runs. So he's gonna that'd be more home runs than any other Twins player.
Right? Yeah. Crazy.
Kike Hernandez, like his regular season was terrible, 654. He's great in the postseason every year. So I guess you just gotta get there. I don't think the Twins are gonna get there next year, but So just some depth there. I don't think they're going to do much. I said first baseman, and this is best case scenario, like best case. Like I don't think Pete Alonso's even in the cards, honestly, with the money they've spent on Correa, and then they extended Buxton, didn't they?
Yeah. So I'm looking right now.
Kind of cheaper, but
so Correa's got so it's a $200 million contract that ends in 2032. Sorry. Buxton's is $100 million, ends in 28. Pablo Lopez is 73.5, and that ends in 27. And it's just frustrating because you get these big guys. These are big names here, and you could say like it's unfortunate that they keep getting hurt and all that stuff, but it just seems like they're just, I don't want to say empty contracts, but they're not doing anything here. I mean, the Twins have done nothing. They didn't win the playoff series last year. They didn't make the playoffs this year. It's just like how long it's not Blue Jays, but I'm just thinking like this in between of like, okay, you have some big names, but they're not doing anything in terms of getting you wins and getting you playoff wins and series wins.
Yeah.
That's why I think a Pete would be like, okay, we're going to push, but I get why that's like kind of.
Yeah, just with the cost, and it'd be huge, but.
It would be a big contract.
Like I said, best case scenario, I think Paul Goldschmidt, he's getting older, but I still think he's a great hitter. This last year was a big down season for him. 716 OPS with a 98 OPS plus. Still 22 home runs, 65 RBIs. But then going back to 21 through 23, in 2021, 31 home runs, 879 OPS. He won the MVP in 22 at age 34. 981 OPS, 35 home runs. And then last year was even great. 25 home runs, 80 RBIs, 810 OPS. So I think he could easily be an 800 OPS guy.
Yeah.
Again, are they going to spend that money for an aging Paul Goldschmidt? Probably not. So I said you could also get like a Rizzo or a Josh Bell to add maybe some left-handed batters since you have Correa, Buxton, and Royce who are all right-handed. So I don't know. I don't think they're really going to do anything. If they didn't make a single move, it would not surprise me. Rotation, I said you need to fill in the 4 and 5 spots. I agree with you. I like the Bailey Ober. I like Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan. Those guys are all awesome.
Do you like Woods Richardson?
I really don't, dude. I think last year was kind of a fluke because before that he was not good at all, and he was bad at the end of the year. 4.17 ERA total.
Yeah, I mean
Chris Paddock.
He's only 24 though.
Yeah, I guess he is pretty young, and he was a high prospect at one point.
Yeah, and that was his first full season.
He's fallen off, but dude, he was bad in like AAA before he came to the Twins. So scary. I don't know. It's
for a 4. Let's say. I mean,
I guess for a 4, yes, you're fine with that. I said maybe get a guy like Quintana, Heaney, or again, best case scenario, I think a John Means would be kind of fun to go there. He's kind of fallen in the depths of the Baltimore. I kind of feel bad for him because he was there
hurt all last year. Wasn't he?
He's been hurt bad, and dude, he was. What's sad is when he was on Baltimore, he was on like all the bad teams dealing. Like he was their only like bright spot.
Yeah.
And now when they're actually good, he's been injured and like everybody's forgotten about him. It's kind of sad, but when he's out there, dude, I mean, 2023 2.66 ERA in 23 innings, short sample. I know this year short sample, 2.61 in 20 innings. like going back to 2020, 2020 was his only like kind of bad year.
Right.
Other than that, he's been amazing. So
And well, you said 2020, right?
yeah,
I mean, you could just say COVID year for that and
Yeah.
call it a
which
scratch.
that happens a lot. Like Otani was terrible COVID
Right.
year. So I think he'd be fun. I would like him to go to like another like the Tigers. That would be awesome to get him. But yeah, the injury history is scary.
That is,
so
it's brutal to say. Have the people that like Twins say we want to cut spending after the collapse they had last season.
yeah, the fans are not. Gonna
And
be
now
happy.
it's probably only going to get, I would assume, worse if we're saying Royals are spending, Guardians will probably spend a bit, and
Yeah.
Tigers, hopefully probably will as well. And it's like, oh man,
they're trending down. Everybody else is
Yeah.
trending up big time.
I mean, the White Sox you'd caught in that trending up list if you want to add.
Yeah, no, they. I mean, they are.
I mean,
It's hard to trend down
True.
from that, but
But it'll be a while before they trend up past the Twins. That's a 41 win gap between the two teams. But,
yeah,
I mean, do you have anything else to add on the Twins?
I think I'm all set. If you want to get to your team,
Yeah,
I'll just give
let's
my
go
opinion when
over.
you're done.
So, the White Sox, I don't have much to say on last season. 41 and 121, I've said already. The good thing with this team is they have a decent, I would say, above average youth like prospect system, especially on the pitching side. Their Double-A team, the Birmingham Barons, was one of the best. I think they won the league championship last year. They were one of the best staffs in all of minor leagues. They had Jairo Uriarte, Drew Thorpe before he got called up, Kai Bush. Those are the three that I'm thinking off the top of my head. I think there's one more I'm missing there. Sean Burke, maybe. But either way, a very good pitching staff and something to look forward to for White Sox fans. Oh, Noah Schultz. How did I miss him?
Yep.
And then they go out and get Hagen Smith in the draft, another tall lefty for the White Sox. He's already the number 2 prospect in our system, right behind Noah. So definitely on the pitching side, there is excitement here. So what I think the White Sox need to do in this offseason is trade their stars on their own terms. I get nervous here about more nervous with Luis Robert. So he did struggle a lot last season, and that is one of the things that really concerns me. Is you could have traded him at the deadline last year, but it would have been hard to get anywhere near the value you would have gotten for him at the start of that season. He was hurt at the start and had a very tough first half and second half. He had a really bad full year. Looking at, his OPS I think was below 700, only had 14 home runs, and just a disappointing season. And so I know I talked about this, I think, to you at some point, but I think what you can do with him is instead of bankrolling giving him another season with the White Sox, is you can say, yes, he had a tough season last year, but look at what he did before last season and look at the talent he had, and we know the talent's there. And so maybe an environment change is what he needs to kind of find that superstar status once again, because we know it's there. We all know it's there. But it's all about getting the most value out of him. And so I think he is a guy that needs to be traded at the deadline. I mean, before the season starts. I don't think he plays a single game in a White Sox uniform this season. I don't want him to, at least. So one of the trades, I guess. So I have 2 mock trades, actually, something a little different. So I have him going to the Phillies here in a mock trade. They do center fielder is probably their biggest hole right now with Johan Rojas. I mean, they don't really feel super great about him, and I think that's respectable. So what I have here is a Luis Robert deal to the Phillies. The White Sox, that's all they give up. They get Andrew Painter, the MLB number 32, Phillies number 2 prospect. Justin Crawford, who's MLB's number 53, Phillies number 3. And then a flyer and Carson DeMartini at third base. He's the Phillies number 17 in their org. Andrew Painter, he pitched for the first time in like 2 years in the fall league this year. Looked great. Happy to see him back. I think he had Tommy John. What I like about Painter a lot is he's a right-handed pitcher. The White Sox have a lot of lefties in their system right now, and it'd be good to have a really good righty arm. And that adds to an already insane farm system of pitching the White Sox have going now. And I think that would just be really good. Crawford is a guy who has been trending upwards as of late. Like I said, Phillies number 3, and he's a near 50 top 100 prospect right now. And another guy, I would believe he might get called up in that season or just play right away. But just a hitter, at least in this system, that something past like an Edgar Carroll, because other than that, the White Sox don't have, and like a Colson Montgomery, there's not too many fantastic hitters I would call in the system, so I think that's a good add. And then just some third base stuff with DeMartini. The only thing with him, the Phillies like his power. That's kind of what they're scouting him on right now, is that kind of a thing. So you take a chance on him and you just add another prospect to that. So you get 2 top 100 prospects for this guy. I think that's very fair, to be honest. I think there's a scenario they could get a little more here. But I think for now that's fair. I mean, you're asking the Phillies to give up 2 of their top 5 prospects, so I get it. That is a lot too. I'll give it to you for that before I get into my Crochet one. But
so okay, this is very interesting to me. So I honestly thought that Luis Robert had at least 2 more years of control. So this is his last year if they don't trade him. It's for the White Sox.
Is he?
It
his
said
contract?
2026 free agent.
Okay.
So after this season,
I thought it was 20. That's not 27. I thought.
Well, okay. So it says sign through 25. Okay, and then it says 26 and 27 team option.
Let me look.
So okay. I don't know, dude. I don't know if
because he. Well, let me just look.
It all depends when you think the window even opens at all.
So it's a club option the next 2 years in 26 and
which
27.
is really good for you guys. So if you trade him, then that club option transfers to
right.
Okay, because I was gonna originally say that I think 2 top 100s is a lot more than he would actually get, but considering that the team would probably pick up that 26 and 27, because I think he'll return back to his good form. But
yeah,
I guess the question with that is, would it be smarter? Because right now his value is at probably an all-time low. That was his worst season.
Right.
He had a fantastic season in 23, like phenomenal. 38 home runs, 857 OPS, great defense.
He was in the home run derby, which is crazy to think about.
So I think it'd be smarter to wait till the deadline, because I think even if he has like a 780 OPS at the deadline, you're going to get more.
Even that is like being generous for what we saw last season. I know
you're not high on him returning.
No. If
really?
you watching him last year, it was hard to watch him.
Just seemed lost at plate.
I don't know if I ever texted you this. Every single time I watched him at bat, I felt like he was down 0-2.
That's
right
rough.
away. And I'm coming into this not watching any Luis Robert from previous years. I'm just watching 2024 Luis Robert.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is there before this or after this or whatever. But just going off of last season, I am incredibly terrified to run him out there again and him do the same thing. And then that keeps tanking his value, and then you're stuck with him. And not that that's a bad thing, but what's the point of having him right now? There's nothing.
So if they didn't, I'm guessing your reasoning for them not trading him last deadline was because he was doing so bad. So nothing's changed, I feel like. So
yeah.
Why would they trade him now? I feel like
because I think there's a little bit of, as I was saying, like, you're out of that season, and instead of the focus being on, like, so if you go back to last season, the only teams that were going to be trading for him, like a Phillies, like a Dodgers, they were looking for somebody to help them in the playoff push. Luis Robert last year would not have helped anybody in the playoff push, I don't think, as he was playing at the moment.
So a fresh start is a big thing.
Right.
Okay.
I think you can kind of throw that season, put on the back burner, and say, look, you get a full season with him, you get the club options, you can kind of help him find him again and not worry about the pressure of, oh, he's immediately on a contender, is he going to be hitting good or not?
Yeah.
So I think that's the advantage of trading him now instead of waiting for another trade deadline or not trading him again.
28 walks, 141 strikeouts.
It was bad. He kept trying to pull everything.
But I'll say this. So 28 and 141, his good season last year was 30 and 172. How?
I guess that's what you
I don't know. This is so tough to me. I don't know. Because obviously you don't want to get rid of a guy, because you still think he's like a star, right? I think he's a star.
40 wins last year. What's he gonna do? Rot in Chicago for 2
No, I know.
years?
I'm not saying keep him, because
and he still played a good chunk of the year, and we still sucked. He doesn't do anything. Like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like he doesn't like.
He's 27, but like how
you're
it's
not
so
going to
tough.
get any more value out of him from this, and I think you just let him go.
It sucks though, because I feel like he's a I think he's a athletic beast, but
oh, absolutely. Or as we pull up the picture, you remember that video of the drop ball he had? Just totally checked out and in and out like a pop fly. Okay, well, I'll see what you think about this one. This one is a big trade, actually. So this one's with the Orioles for Crochet. And I already see your face now. So So I'm going off of the vibe that Orioles are not going to re-sign Corbin. They need an ace, and I think Crochet fits this perfectly. I think he'd fit really well in Baltimore. So what I have is a Garrett Crochet and Edgar Caro, who's number 59 ranked prospect, White Sox number 4 prospect, being traded to Baltimore. The big ticket here is Samuel Basallo. He is MLB's 13th ranked prospect, number 2 in Baltimore. He's been a super high riser the past couple of years. I think very soon could be a number 1 prospect in the league. He's got a career 841 OPS in the minors. He's really been trending up the past couple of years. I think it was 23. He flew through 3 levels, hit above 900 OPS. Really, really positive upside here. And then I threw in Trace Bright also. He's the number 12 ranked prospect in the Baltimore organization. He's a 3.98 minors ERA, just kind of a flyer again here to add on for what the White Sox are giving up. So this trade pretty much is, I think, a significant upgrade at catcher prospect and somebody you know is going to be good. And Edgar Caro, I think, is also very solid. But I think if adding a Crochet with him, you can upgrade that spot and then, take a chance on a righty arm, just see what he can do. But I think I'm okay with this also because you know what you have coming at pitching with a Noah Schultz, a Hagen Smith, Drew Thorpe, Kai Bush. There's a lot of help on the way, and I think you're okay with letting Crochet go here. And you get a really, really good prospect here and somebody that could probably play towards the end of this season, maybe next year, probably. And I think this one's pretty solid, to be honest. And I think the fit here on both sides is really, really good. So
I'm not totally against it, honestly, but I don't know. I'm looking at their stats, and it seems like these 2 catcher prospects, I don't know. They don't seem too far off.
No, so Edgar Caro, if he didn't get traded, he'd be up this year. And Basallo would also probably, does it say his ETA? I think
it doesn't. He's only 20, like he just turned 20.
Yeah, so that'd be the one thing is his age.
And his AAA numbers were bad.
I don't think they were bad, were they?
2024, 3 home runs.
Didn't he play he had 11 at bats, didn't he?
85,
okay.
So still very small sample size. 638 OPS and then 820 in AA. But then Caro last year was great in AA and AAA. 4 home runs, 17 RBIs with an 845 OPS in 100 at bats.
That was in AA, right?
That was AAA.
Oh, that was AAA.
AA was even better.
Yeah, he had a great season last year. Really good.
I don't know. And with Garrett Crochet,
he's got to go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
There's no point. There's literally
maybe
no
it's
point
just so tough for me to get rid of these really high caliber players, but
if you take one look at the White Sox top prospects, it's like there's pitchers coming. And it's unfortunate.
I honestly love what they're cooking up.
It's unfortunate that Crochet is falling into this weird thing because I think he does want to stay in Chicago, but he's just not going to be in the same window as all these other guys. And there's just, you get the value out of him while you can. And I think he is more of a contender to say, let him go until the trade deadline and then get him to a contender, because I think he'll continue off of last season, especially now that was his first full season as a starter. I think he'll build off that and be better. And I think you trust that more than you trust Luis Robert doing what he did in the regular season.
I don't know. I kind of feel like now would be a good time to trade him because his value is so high. But I guess if you're high on him, replicating it and then even getting better, I guess yes, deadline would be smart too. You guys got 2 more years of control, but is 2026 even a window? Probably not.
No, I think you block out the next 2 years of any window of chance of competing for anything.
Yeah, I guess I can agree because, like you said, with the starting pitching, I love what they're cooking with Cannon, Thorpe, and then Schultz and the other starting pitching prospects. I think that's great. And then you don't have to have all 5 spots filled. When you guys start to build up to that point, you can still go and get a free agent guy. So
right. So so those are my 2 trades. Just because I wanted to say I think both these guys should be gone by the start of the season. Some free agents. So I am assuming a lot of guys are going to get called up this year, and I didn't want to block them out too much. And I don't think there's any reason the White Sox need to spend a lot here other than just guys they can pick up and trade. So my big contender with that was Michael Lorenzen. I think he's a pretty good candidate for this. So he did this the past 2 seasons. He did it with you guys in Detroit, and he also did it in Texas this year. He got traded at the deadline from both these teams. Really, really solid numbers, and I think he would be a good candidate to come to Chicago, do something similar, and get moved to the deadline for some prospects. I also went down to Wade Miley. He's been in Chicago and Milwaukee.
I had him too.
Just another guy you can pick up and help kind of this smooth the transition between getting your prospect pictures up and having, if Crochet's gone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the only hitting guy I said was Kevin Biggio. He's kind of an oddball. His hitting numbers have never really been great. I like about him is a utility man. He can play a lot of different places. So as you're trying to figure out a lot of these young guys, where they're going to play, where they're going to fit, I think it'd be helpful to have him around to kind of help navigate that. And maybe he has a good season and you can move him at the deadline. But that was just somebody I kind of saw, okay, you can get him for cheap, really cheap probably, and just kind of plug and play him somewhere.
Yeah.
The White Sox did also sign Austin Slater. Did you see that?
I did not.
He's an outfielder from Baltimore. I think he's got like a 105 OPS plus or something.
He's good against lefties too. Very good.
Yeah, he had it was a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. So, nothing that's going to blow your socks off, but they got somebody. So, I think they're going to play mostly conservative here in the offseason, obviously. I think a bigger focus needs to be on the trades, though, as I said. So,
yeah, I agree. Since I didn't know like the prospect system as well as you do, I kind of stay away from the trades, but I agree. I think they should go and get a lot of guys to flip. I have a ton of names I'm just going to throw out there. I mean, a lot of these guys are guys that had bad years this year that could just return to their form.
Mm-hmm.
Chris
Flexen.
No, definitely not.
Oh, yeah, because he had a good year, right?
Return
Chris Flexen,
when he's going to return to his old
Why would
Flexen.
Why, yeah.
So, okay, I don't even know why I wrote this down. I think it's more of just a homecoming thing, but Jose Abreu, I think he's probably just too slow.
No, that's such a waste of money. He's probably going to want like $10 million too.
Okay, nobody's going to give him 10. If he wants 10, he's going to be sitting on his couch next year.
He's probably going to do that either way.
Right. You might have to pay them to play, and they
Honestly,
still wouldn't do that. So, I said Jorge Polanco. I think that'd be perfect, honestly.
So my only thing with the middle infielders is Colson Montgomery's coming up. He'll play this year. He'll play short. I don't want to take away any time from
So that makes sense then.
So I think we keep shortstop open. Second base is kind of the one where it's like you're losing Nicky Lopez.
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, Kevin Biggio, or like if Jorge slides over to second, I'm fine with that too.
So no Jorge then. Adam Frazier played right field. I know he plays second, but just
I know
he's had good seasons. Bring him back. Gio would be kind of cool.
Gio
Urshela.
Yeah, we could use the third.
Just bring him in.
Yeah.
And then catcher, I said either Danny Jansen or like Tucker Barnhart, but you're not going to be able to flip them for much anyways.
Yeah, well, I don't even think Danny Jansen's the guy that's going to sign with Chicago. I think he's above that, to be honest.
You think?
I think so.
I think Lorenzen's kind of above that because
I was worried about that too.
You're going to have to pay him like a decent amount just to flip. I mean, is that worth it?
True. And he's had good enough seasons where it's like, oh, can you even really flip him if he's going to be like demanding a pretty good chunk of money?
Right.
But seeing that the past years he's gone, signed, flipped, I was like, okay, I think that's realistic.
Yeah.
But
I guess it happened last year after being good. So
is it going to be on a team that won 40 games last year? Because kind of different scenario.
And then starting pitching, I also had Wade Miley as like my main one, and then I threw Cueto, Martin Perez, Alex Wood.
Yeah.
A lot of just the older guys that could come and just
pitch.
Yeah, experience, but you can flip them, eat innings. But if they had if they have Crochet, when did you say Schultz is coming up?
Schultz will probably be up. I wouldn't be surprised if he's up at the end of this year. I think his first full season will be 26.
Okay. So let's say the end of this year, Schultz is up. You keep Crochet. If you have Crochet, Cannon, Thorpe, Schultz, and then one of these guys, let's say Alex Wood or Wade Miley. I'm not saying that's like a good rotation, but like that's not bad.
And it wasn't even horrible
these are young
last
guys.
year.
That's exciting.
Crochet and Cannon and Thorpe. Yeah. Thorpe had surgery at the end of the season, so he didn't play most of it. But so right now they're tracking Schultz will be up in 25, Hagen Smith will be up in 25, Montgomery will be up in 25, and Carroll will be up in 25.
Yeah.
Along with Mason Adams, who's a right-handed. Kai Busch and Hyro have already been up. There's something to get excited about here. There's something. A lot of pitchers, which is also really exciting. And that's why I kind of want to lean more towards, okay, maybe you find some decent hitting prospect. I was really disappointed at the end of last deadline that we got Heral Perez and Alexander Albertus, two guys in single A that, I think one of them had a broken leg last year and the other one hadn't done much. And, you only gave up Kopech and Pham, so it's like kind of, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would really like them to develop these arms, A, but then also maybe look for more hitting prospects if you're trying to get this window going. And then I guess the other question I'll ask is this and maybe this isn't a huge concern because Schultz is 21, Smith is 21, Caro's 21, and Montgomery's 22. There's a little concern of like, okay, are these guys coming up too soon? Because your window is still not here, right? And maybe this doesn't matter too much, obviously. You want to let them pitch. And they'll be under control for 6 years, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, maybe that doesn't really matter at all, but do you kind of get what I'm saying? Of like,
do you want to start their clock early?
Kind of
with that too?
Yeah.
Or is it more of like a stunting in development that you're worried about?
Not stunning development. I think a lot of these guys have done really well. Hagen Smith probably can wait. He doesn't need to be up. And same with Schultz. They're both 21. Montgomery is definitely need to be up this year, and so does Caro. And I like Jairo, I like Kai, I like Drew all being up. But it just, I want to make sure these guys are coming up at the right time, and maybe it would be better to push them up, though, because then they get the MLB experience when it's the lowest stakes possible, right? So,
yeah, I think I agree. I think you should pull them up too. I think it's huge to get the actual experience in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with a guy like Edgar Caro, who in AAA was like still doing very well.
Yeah,
Double A, like
it was great to see him.
Every level he was playing great.
That was from the Giolito trade that we got him.
I think it all depends, and this is kind of obvious, but it all depends on like their minor league. Like if they seem like they're ready, like bring them up. Like even like Cannon. I know Thorpe was amazing in the minors, wasn't he? Cannon was kind of rough, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I didn't know much about Cannon. He started the year with the team.
Okay.
I didn't know much about his minor league. I actually don't really know anything about it. I know, obviously, we both know he had an okay season last year. I didn't know any of his minor league numbers. But yeah, kind of like Kai Bush. I think he had a sub-3 ERA. Drew Thorpe was around a 2 as well. Noah was, I think, a sub-2 in Double A. And then Hagen, he got drafted, and I think he only made it to high A. So yeah. But the numbers are looking really good, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and those aren't. Like, these guys aren't all in, like, single A or, like, these are, like, double A, triple A. So I don't think you hold back at all, especially when they're performing like that.
Right.
And I think a lot of them should be pulled up by the end of next year, and that's going to be exciting to watch. I love, like watching Colt Keith jump in, and then, like, mid-year watching, like, Jackson Jobe. Like, that's honestly, like, some of the most fun. Trey Sweeney, Jace Young.
I mean, they definitely kind of...
Just that excitement.
There was a weird gap year here where we didn't see many. Drew Thorpe was the biggest call-up this year for the White Sox. Yeah. And this next year, I think you're going to see a lot.
Huge. Yep.
Noah Schultz is 6'9", by the way. I don't know if you know
Holy
that.
Cow.
He's huge. He's a big, tall lefty. It's awesome. Yeah, so that's the AL Central. Do you want to do, like, just really quick, like, record predictions for next year?
Okay.
Like, just off the top of your head. Like, who do you think? I think it'll still be Guardians 1. Actually, I would think it'd be the same as it was this year.
Just say how many wins you think.
I think Guardians will get 97.
Holy cow.
It's only 5 more.
That's a lot.
They're going to get better.
I think they Okay. I'll wait
okay.
for the year.
Royals, I think they break 90. And then I think the Tigers go, I think they hit 78. Twins, I could see the Twins getting something very similar if they stay healthy. Let's go. I'll keep the Twins at 82. Tigers at 78. White Sox, I'll go 62.
Okay. Oh, that hurts.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go Tigers. Tigers are winning the division. I genuinely think this.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Tigers 89. I think that's gonna win the division.
You think 89 wins the division?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm sorry.
I still think that's gonna win the division. Well, okay, I'll say 90. I'll put Tigers 90. Second, I think I'm gonna say Kansas City just because I think they're gonna spend a lot more than the Guardians.
Fair enough.
So 90 Tigers, Kansas City second. I'll say 87. And then Guardians 85, 86 maybe. I'm not.
So, and you were saying you think they overperformed this year?
I think they did 100%.
I guess going off of preseason expectations, that's probably a case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so 85, 86. Twins, 80. I think they're going to be just average, maybe below average. And then White Sox.
I think they break 60.
No, I think they definitely break 60. I'm going to say.
This is bad. This is a bad year.
I guess, I don't know, dude. I'm going to say 64.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tigers winning.
I think the Tigers. Yeah, I don't think that's that crazy. I think we're gonna be close to favored. It's gonna be like second or.
It'll be really close.
It's gonna be bunched between the three. Pretty close.
And then
Guardians will still be favored probably.
Right.
But yeah. I think they're gonna be way more than 78. Honestly.
Yeah, I guess I'm banking on the
blocking, not spending any money,
and then kind of
which
the fall off of the hot streak they had last year. But well, that'll do it for episode number 11. We'll do the AL West next week, and that'll be a pretty fun one too. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check us out on all social medias: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and if you're listening on Spotify, we're also on there too. So we'll see you guys next week, and have a good one.
Thank you.